Welcome everyone to Selective Preparation Power Thinking Skills Test 20. As per usual, we have 20 questions today. Let's begin. So, using this information below, which reasoning is correct? To be eligible to compete at the National Powerlifting Competition, we must be able to bench press at least 150 kilograms and deadlift 200. It is also highly recommended that the individual weighs at least 90 kilograms. Notice I'm not underlining the highly recommended part because it is not a requirement, okay? Edward says, I can bench 160 and deadlift 190. However, I weigh 100, which is much more than 90. This means I am eligible. Like I said before, the weight does not matter. It is just highly recommended, right? It's not a break or make it. The 160 is over 150, but the 190 is not over 200. So Edward is incorrect. He will not be eligible. Kira says, my bench and deadlift combined will be 400 kilograms. This means I automatically qualify for the tournament. Now, we don't know in what combination the 400 kilograms is. In these kind of questions, always try and prove them wrong, okay? So if it's 400, it could be 20 kilograms and 380 kilograms, right? We don't know the combination. And this would not qualify. So we cannot say she is automatically qualified for this competition. So none of them are correct. Option D. Right, number 2, which of the following must be false? So you are going to try each of the options and try and see if it can be true. A says, some integers are imaginary numbers. So we want to start with the integers and work our way to the imaginary numbers. You don't actually need to know what these are or what they mean. You just need to be able to follow logic. So let's start with the integers. This sentence has integers. All integers are rational numbers. All right, follow the trail. Rational numbers are real numbers. Okay, so we know that integers are rational, which are real. All real numbers are complex numbers, so it must be complex, right? And now it says all imaginary numbers are complex but not real, right? So imaginary is complex but not real. Right? So if it's not real, then it cannot be an integer. Because remember, integers are real. Right? So that's why these two cannot be the same. So A is your answer because we're finding the false option. Okay, 3 matching arguments. There are some chocolate bars with caramel inside. David has a chocolate bar, so it might have caramel inside. So some of A have B inside, right? Somebody has A, so it might have B. That's the argument. So let's test this one, okay? A, there are some buses that go to Ari's house. Therefore, the bus at the bus stop might go to Ari's house. Okay, so there are some, right, A, that do B. Therefore, the bus at the bus stop, A, might do B. This one's the answer. Okay? If you test the other ones, it doesn't have that kind of format. Okay, for if the information in the box is true, who is allowed to go to the party? Okay, Mason and Brendan's parents have certain rules. They have rule where they must be home by 11 and must always take the bus home. They are not allowed to attend a party with alcohol. Okay, Mason says, my friend's party will finish at 10 p.m. I plan to take the bus home, which will take 40 minutes to get home from my friend's house. Okay, so that's 10:40. He is safe. He's taking the bus home, so he's safe as well. There is no alcohol at the party. My parents will let me attend. Because there's no alcohol, all three rules are unqualified, so Mason is correct. Brendan, I'm invited to start at 6 p.m. I will be home by 10:30 and my best friend's dad is dropping me. So this is the red flag, right? We need to take the bus home always. So Brendan's parents will not let him attend. So only Mason is correct. So what's the flaw of the argument above? Whilst it is often said that most people do not eat enough fruit, the contrary is also true. It is true that the recommended serving of fruit is 5 serves per day, but it is also true that eating too much fruit is bad for you. This is because too much fruit is detrimental for your health. So what they've done is said, okay, well, eating too much fruit is bad for you. That is their main argument, right? Main point. And they said this is because the reasoning, they've just repeated the exact same argument, right? So we're using the conclusion as the only evidence to support our case, and that is the flaw. C. The argument uses the conclusion as a piece of evidence for the argument. So it's like saying chocolate is the most delicious food in the world. This is because chocolate is the most delicious food in the world. Okay? We cannot do that to support our argument. 6. Let's find a thing that strengthens the conclusion. United Nations is an organization for the world's nations which helps coordinate diplomatic responses between countries and acts as a mediator, right, of global issues. While the official languages of the organization are English and French, some have argued that the languages should be changed to better represent the majority of the world. So if we have a piece of evidence that shows us English and French do not represent the majority of the world, then that would be a very good strengthening argument. And the answer, therefore, is A. The two most spoken languages in the world are English and Mandarin. If this is the case, right, then that means that French is not going to represent the majority because it's not the most spoken language. So we should change the languages used. As always, just have a look at the solutions if you'd like more detail. Right, 7, parallel the reasoning. Some people speed on the road, which is dangerous. Some people do A, which is B. In order to stop B, which is bad, right? Speed cameras need to be placed on roads to improve road safety. In order to stop B, we must do something. Okay, let's have a look. A says some people do not like cats. This is because, we're going to cross this out because this is because there's a reasoning, right? We don't really want a reasoning. We want to do something to stop it from happening. So, A is out. Some people do not attend class. Therefore, the teacher made attendance compulsory to make people show up. Right? So some people do not attend class, right? Which is bad. Some people do A. Therefore, the teacher made some attendance compulsory in order to stop this from happening. So that's why B is actually the answer. Okay? To stop something bad from happening, we are going to do another thing. Okay, 8. Ryan says that speeding is always fine as long as there is no traffic. You are alert and if you are a competent driver. Daniel, however, says speeding is always bad, especially with a lot of traffic, because even if you are alert and competent, accidents can always happen. Adam therefore concludes that speeding is probably a bad thing to do, but that it is sometimes fine when the roads are empty. So what did Adam do? Adam did a thing called the middle ground fallacy. So he's taken two people, their arguments are kind of on the extreme end, and just found the middle ground. They're like, okay, well, if one person believes this and the other person believes that, it must be halfway in between. Now, that is not always true, right? You cannot just collect the arguments and just find bits of it that you like and just put it in your own argument as Adam has done. So C is actually the answer. The average of two arguments is not necessarily correct. That's not how arguments work. 9. For school assignment, there are two components, a presentation and report. To calculate the mark, Mr. Toad adds the 2 marks together. Okay, Billy says, if our assignment marks were the same, and if my presentation mark was the same as your report mark, then your presentation mark will be equal to my report mark. Okay, so let's try Billy's reasoning. Let's pretend Billy is Billy and Mason. Okay, this is the first reasoning. Billy got, for the presentation and the report. Okay, presentation report. Let's say he got 50 for presentation. Okay, the assignment marks are the same. Presentation mark is the same as the report mark. Okay, so that means Mason got 50 for report. The whole total must be the same, right? So let's pretend Billy got, let's do maybe 90. Then this must be 90. So then the report mark must be 40 and the presentation must be 40 here. So presentation mark is equal to the report mark. Yeah, correct. So Billy is correct. Just by testing it like that, okay? Next one. Mason says, if my presentation mark was higher than your presentation mark and your report mark was higher than my report mark, then we could have gotten the same for our assignment. Yep, that's correct as well, right? So if Mason's presentation mark was 50, and that means that Billy was lower at 40, but then Billy got higher for report, right? If you do that, then they both get 90 as well. Obviously, it doesn't have to be those exact numbers, but it could be. That's the case. We could have got it. So they are both correct. Last one. Tim wants to test the effectiveness of number 1 hand sanitizer against a generic hand sanitizer. Number 1 claims to kill more germs than any other hand sanitizer. Which of the following is true? If true, will disprove number 1 hand sanitizer's claims. So disprove means to say this is wrong. Okay, so let's try A. D is generic brand and D is 98%. So if this is 98% and this B was generic brand, we don't know anything about number 1, right? It could have 99. So A is incorrect. D is 99 and C is number 1. Okay, so they're saying that this is number 1, right? And D is 99. Well, this is correct. If this was the case, right, then number 1 is 98 and generic is 99, and that is not true for the statement because number 1 hand sanitizer claims to kill more germs than any other hand sanitizer. And here you can see that 99 is higher than 98. C, A is 97. Even if this was 97, right? If, for example, this one was number 1 as well, just a different type, then the claim might still be true. And D is obviously incorrect. Okay? Again, have a read of the solutions if you'd like more information. Right, key points from this test. Always try and organize your information, especially if there are a lot of words. Okay, use tables regularly and abbreviate the labels or names using appropriate abbreviations. Another key point, even if the content of the question doesn't make sense, try and focus on the logic. Okay? Alright, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed that video. I will see you in the next one.